All right, we'll go ahead and get started. I'd like to call our regular monthly meeting to order. At this time, if everyone will please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. If everyone stand and join me with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated.
I was looking at the EV. Legendary. There you go. Oh, well, that was awkward.
Okay, board members, we're down to approving our agenda. And I do have one item that needs to be added, item E. And this is to consider MOA with the Alchemy Collaborative. And I'll make a motion to add this to the agenda.
Second.
A second by Mr. Johar. All in favor of approving the amendment to the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I hear none. And we'll move down to approving the amended agenda with the changes. I have a motion by Mr. Johar.
Second.
Second by Ms. Wells. All in favor of approving the amended agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I hear none. We'll go down to recognitions, and I think Carla's still tied up, and she just wanted to recognize all of our retirees that we had this year and wish them well in their retirement. And we want to congratulate each and every one of those that were recognized tonight. We'll move down now to our treasurer's report. Mr. Bletzinger.
Thank you, Chairman Rager, board members. All right, good. Tonight I'm bringing you the financials as of June 30th, 2021. The revenues, the beginning balance was $28.7 million. That is down by $434,000. Monthly receipts were $2.2 million. Those are down $843,000 from last month and down $825,000 from the same period last year. Seek was up $490,000, but all others were down. And for a total revenues, cash securities, and receipts of about $30.9 million. Expenditures, accounts payable was about $1 million. Of that, it's up approximately $55,000 when compared with the same period last year. The significant bills in June were $222,488 from Tremco. Those are the supplies to do the roofs, the gym roofs at both the high school and South Middle. Payroll is at $4.653 million, and that is down $160,000 versus June of 2020. For total expenses of $5.7 million. Further breakdown of the accounts payable, fixed and mixed expense was $739,000, variable expenses are $199,000, and utilities expense were $96,000. Of the $1 million, general fund was $897,000. Fund 2 and school activity was about $49,000. Construction, about $44,000, and debt service was $1,000. Food service and daycare was $86,000, and trust and agency, which are scholarships, were $3,000. So for the ledger balance at the close of the month, about $17.4 in cash with investments of $7.4 and $331,000, bringing it to $25.2 million. The breakdown of that cash balance, the general fund is at $19.6 million. That's down about $2.4 million. The fund special revenue, Fund 2, that's about down about $2.4 million. That is actually reimbursed funds, so we should be getting those in the next month here. So for $25.198 million, the overall, it was down about $3.5 million. Extended financial picture, as of November 2021, we expect to have about $19.9 million in the bank. Any questions?
questions on the treasurer's report? If not, I need a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Ms. Wells,
Second.
second by Mr. Johar. All in favor of approving the treasurer's report, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I hear none. And we'll move down to payment of bills and salaries. Mr. Bletzinger.
Thank you, Chairman Rager. In July, I bring to you $899,054.08. Of that, the significant payments this month were Train Parts Center, $265,000. That was for another payment towards the cooling towers that are at both South Elementary and Greenville Elementary. Lawton Insurance was about $100,000. Old National Wealth Management, which is debt service, $60,000. Roberts Insurance and Investments, which is the student accident insurance, K&K, that's $54,000. Muhlenberg Fiscal Court, $52,397, and the sheriff of $31,000. Those are both for SRO payments.
Any discussion on payments of bills and salaries? If not, I need a motion to approve.
Make a motion.
A motion by Ms. Bard,
Second.
second by Ms. Wells. All in favor of payment of bills and salaries, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I hear none. We'll move down now to public participation. Nobody, okay, we don't have any of those. So we'll move on down now to the administrative report, superintendent report. Personnel actions have been given to the board and the report has been placed in our minutes. And now we're down to Mr. Davis with the superintendent report.
All right, thank you, Chairman Rager. Board members, Brian and Donna are working their way down now to talk about how the move is going and as they're getting there, and I know they'll reiterate this, but I'm telling you, there has been so much work gone in with their custodial staffs in particular, others too, but day in, day out, their custodial staffs, and you just can't imagine how much has been moved. Thank goodness we have extra weeks this summer. You know, we're starting a little later with the boat dock days. We got out a little earlier because of craziness of last year. We didn't have snow days. So thank goodness we did have that because it's going to take all of it. So if you would, Brian, go ahead and lead off, kind of tell us how it's going. Then Donna, just jump right in behind you. Thank you.
Yes. So for us, we probably have one more big move of my office, Mr. Lloyd's office, the front office, and then some odd and ends around the building. And then, of course, now we're still sorting through at East, new South Middle, and getting it ready. I know today our custodians were working on the front office, getting it ready for our office to move in. And as Mr. Davis said, I can't compliment our custodians enough for the work that they've put in over this summer. You know, summers are always hard for custodians, and this one is just, you just multiply it this year because we're basically taking one school, moving it to another school, and just been a lot of work. And you know, I can't say enough about my head custodian, all of my custodians, but Lori Wilson, my head custodian, without her taking the lead, we would not be ready for August 23rd when school starts. So I just can't say enough about her. And then all the principals have shared their custodians with me, and at different times, maintenance has helped us. Rod Gaines has been a huge help this summer. We've had to move some dry erase boards, and I don't know if you've ever moved a dry erase board, but those things weigh a ton. And some of them he moved by himself. So we greatly appreciate him and just everyone that's pitched in and helped. We're going to get there. We'll be ready. Come August 13th is our open house, and we will be ready. And we look to have a big grand opening and celebrate our new school, even though it's a little bittersweet, leaving the old South, but new opportunities are ahead, and we're looking forward to that. So we thank y'all. I know one day, for about 5 minutes, Mr. Davis came by. I think it was just for a photo shoot, but we do appreciate him come lifting that chair.
Well, I'll start with Mr. Carver seemed to be a little more complimentary of Mr. Davis and Mr. Bletzinger one day when they did come and help the high school to move a couple of items as well. But as Mr. Lyle said, I cannot commend our custodial staff as well. And a large shout out to Mr. Gregory, our head custodian, as well as Danny and the rest of the crew. I cannot brag on the group enough. They've been fantastic, and we have a few more big items, but we've got to wait on some material to come in here at the high school before we can get those few items out at the New South Middle. But I can't appreciate Mr. Lyle's patience enough for working with us each time, and just the continual cooperation between the both of us as we really try to move two buildings essentially and make the two schools work. So, but we're coming right along. We'll be ready by August the 17th as well for our first open house for our 10th through 12th graders, and then of course our freshman orientation 2 days after that. So, but we'll get it done, and as we always do.
Thank you, folks. And these two here are under a lot of stress and pressure this summer, and they're handling it with grace, at least when they're around me. And I respect so much of what's going on, be it cafeteria workers, teachers moving stuff, custodians, obviously. So it's going to get done. And it's if there's a box or two still sitting somewhere, guys, that's okay too. We'll work through that. I've moved 2 or 3 times, so I admire what you're doing, what your folks are doing, and thank you both. Okay, moving on. Just kind of keep you in a loop on the ESSER 3, which they don't call it ESSER 3, but it's the third round of money. It's the American Rescue Plan is what they've called it. We're working on the budget now and the actual plan, the rough outline of how we're going to spend that money. And they did take away about $500,000 2 or 3 weeks ago as they made an adjustment. And that's what we've been a little bit afraid of for a while, is they keep making adjustments. That worries us some, but we're working on that plan. We put a survey out. I think I've sent that to you and let you guys know about that. It's out to the entire community, all of our staff and the kids. They can all say, here's what we think you should be spending money. And we're just getting going on that, but you're seeing the things that you would typically see early, math and reading intervention, mental health type stuff. And so those are the kind of things we're working on too. But some of that we'll have out by July 31st. Some more is due August 31st. We'll keep you in the loop on that. We're also working on a reopening plan. Just some of the things we may still do to mitigate COVID. And so we're working on that too. And obviously that's changing a little bit over the last few days. And speaking of that, obviously CDC came out with some guidance earlier this week, I think. And then we finally got some state guidance today, this afternoon, and we're still working on that and trying to interpret that a little bit, but basically there's been a recommendation from CDC and the state that, unvaccinated folks wear a mask, and we're going to treat it just like that. We're going to put out, that's a recommendation. And so folks can move on that as they see fit, just kind of like they've done to us. I won't say to us, for us, however you want to say it. So we'll keep monitoring that. I'm a little confused on their guidance on buses right now. And I'm just getting more text from superintendents right before we're starting here. I'm kind of reading it as a mandate to wear a mask on buses, but that may not be the case. So we're going to work through that. Basically, if they make it a recommendation, we'll make it a recommendation. And if they make it a mandate, then we'll make it a mandate. What we do want is, even if it's not a mandate, we want kids and staff to feel comfortable to wear a mask if that's what they choose to do. We don't want them to be judged in some way. We want it to be a comfortable environment. Do what you think is best if it's a recommendation. That could change again tomorrow, and certainly could change next week. Our cases are rising some. We're keeping an eye on that. I did talk to Kathy Bethel today. She said there's no Delta variant that has been detected in Muhlenberg yet. That's a positive. You have to know it's coming at some point. So we want to be able to pivot on this. We're meeting and talking all the time, but that's where we are right now. And again, some of this guidance came out literally this afternoon. So I will keep everyone in the loop, and we'll make some sort of announcement the next day or two when we kind of interpret everything like we think they intend for it to be. So that's where we are on the CDC and the state guidance. Moving on to something that Mr. Rager, I'm just going to let you know, this may not work to your advantage, but something we're talking about is we try, during this move, in the interim, before we put middle schools together, we're trying to keep things as balanced and reasonable and think ahead, but it's like we don't want to go in there and make everything South Middle, knowing that at some point in the somewhat near future, it's going to turn to Muhlenberg County Middle School in all likelihood. But you don't want them to sit there waiting with with nothing there that's South Middle in the meantime. So we're kind of, what's the balance there? Changing some, we're going to change the sign out front, change some of the things, paint over a few of the things, and some of the things will stay, like the floor likely will stay for a while. But anyway, we're debating on a marquee. You know, do you kind of go get a relatively cheaper one now and then change it all again in a while, or get a nice one now that you can simply change out the part that says either Muhlenberg South Middle School or Muhlenberg County Middle School? We're leaning towards going ahead and getting a nice one and having it there and ready. And Mr. Rager, yours is the one that I helped put there, which is honestly, I mean, you have to pull over into the yard to see it. So it may be that you have that and Mr. Lyle has the other. Please explain that to your staff. It's not, well, it may be a leadership thing. I'm not sure.
We'll just get a poster machine, we'll just change the poster.
Well, I did want to say, if you say, oh, what's going on with this nice new one out there, if we get to that point and look at North Middle's, that's been there since I was there, that's the reasoning. We'll probably do that and just ask for forgiveness at North Middle for a little while. I'm going to let Eric talk about the gym floor, where we are with that. Give us a quick update, if you would, on that, Eric.
The floor is torn out. We're waiting on the plywood that's to go down. It is about ready to be put down, really. So when they get to that point, right now we're still looking at an October time frame. So that's kind of where we're at on that.
And we want to thank a lot of folks here trying to plan to make this work for volleyball, basketball, and everything else, not to mention what Ms. Bumps is facing with PE classes. You know, you don't think about that immediately. I'm sure she did. So we're trying to keep South Middle in the loop on using their gym and use the Parks and Rec, new building there. So we're going to make it work, but that's, you know, of all the floors, the one that's by far used the most. But, you know, that's the hand we're dealt, so we'll play it. Brent, if you would come forward as I go ahead and go through this next one here. I also want to let Eric talk a little bit about what we're talking about with improving our ventilation, something we've been talking about with folks in the last 2 or 3 months. We'll be coming to you relatively soon, but Eric, just catch them up on that if you would.
Okay. What we're looking at is a bipolar ionization, it's called, and it is something that puts that ions out into the air, and it bonds to the molecules or the virus, which allows it to be caught into the vents. Not the vents, but the filters. Thank you. So we're looking at those for each of the schools. South Middle and the high school both have that already. That was part of the energy savings contract. But we are having a couple quotes done and looking at doing that for next year.
Eric's been really involved in that, and also this supposedly helps with the flu, helps with like some odors and other things. So we've talked to some other districts that have already done this, and they seem very pleased with it. Again, that's one of those things we wanted to verify. How do you know it's working? I can't see any of this, so how do we know? So there are some ways to monitor it. That's what they're trying to get with us now. Here's how we can prove that it is. And so that's something we'll move forward with relatively soon, and hopefully our staff will feel a little better, and kids about, you know, it's another mitigation strategy. And one other thing before I get to you, Mr. Hardison, that you came and talked, was it yesterday, with some folks about the drainage outside of the West Campus?
Yes, and
outside the high school.
Outside the high school. So given the drainage issues that we did have, we discussed in a previous meeting that we were going to have an engineering firm. I did meet with someone yesterday that is going to come out and look at it and give us an assessment. Some of their initial assessments were just not quite as promising as we hoped, just given the elevation of some of the things. But he did say there are some things that we might be able to do, and so once I get that assessment, I'll be giving that to all of you.
And it may not be economically feasible. It just may not be, but we're trying to just kind of do a due diligence. Thank you, Eric. And the last thing that I have is Mr. Hardison is going to talk a little bit about how online registration is going. Mr. Freeman started that, and Mr. Hardison has taken that over, and we're trying to kind of change the way we do things going forward.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Like I say, there was a lot of work put into this. I can't imagine how much work went into this, because it's a difficult process to go from paper packets to the online digital. And just to give you an update, You should have a little chart in your packets there that's under administrative report. It's got some numbers in it, and it's something to reference as we share some information with you. This is the first year that students are doing this. This process is replacing the parents sitting down with the packets of material at the first of the school year and going in and signing all those numerous sheets from those packets. And it took hours, felt like, many times, and we're trying to eliminate that. With this process, once we get a parent in the parent portal, which can be a challenge, it can be a few minutes there, but once we get them in the parent portal, they can go online through our website, get on Infinite Campus, and go through a series of questions, updating their demographic information. And that is so critical because if they give us good phone numbers, if they give us good email addresses, if we know the priorities of the pickup list, it just allows us to do our job better. Plus, communication is going to be improved because our messenger is going to do a much more efficient job with maybe sending out texts or phone calls to the correct location. So I do want to give a quick shout out. Gina Hankins has been amazing to work with. She's been helping me and going around to the different schools. I want to send a shout out to the principals. They've scheduled some days this summer, and we've been setting up, and they've been also on top of the messaging we've been putting out. They've been putting it out through their media sources, and so we're getting crowds to come into the schools to do some of this online registration on campus, and it's working out real well. And you see the numbers there, and Mr. Wells there at South Elementary is doing real well. He's got a big part of his group already pre-registered. So, and you see the other numbers, and they're growing. The last few days, the numbers, the progress has really picked up. So, just real proud of the effort. I mean, yes, it's kind of daunting. We don't have 100% yet, but being the first year, think about comparable. We don't usually have this even started till the first week of school, so we're already almost 50% registered. Is there any questions you guys have about the online process?
I think it's great. I do too. I wish for it with my kids, so.
Thank you, Mr. Hardison.
I'm sorting through this paper.
Yes. Mr. Wells, would you like to come up and speak about why you're so much better than everyone else?
There's a lot of work in it, and we're hats off for
All right, thank you. Okay, I believe that concludes my superintendent report. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, we'll move down now to our board action items. Item A on the agenda is to consider second reading for KSBA policy update number 44. Ms. Browning.
And I think until you all added something, I am the agenda tonight because I'm filling in for Julie. So I'll just kind of stay up here if y'all are okay with that. Okay, the first action item is basically the second reading for the policy update number 44. Last month I brought to you all the policies recommended by KSBA, so this is just that second reading.
Okay. I make a motion to approve.
Second.
A second by Ms. Bard. All in favor of approving the second reading for KSBA policy number 44 update, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? I hear none. We'll go down now to item B, to consider MOU between WKU and Muhlenberg County Board of Education concerning the professional education preparation program.
And this is something I have taken over since we had a retiree at the board, Miss Penny, left, and something that kind of falls into, my area anyway, working with new teachers. This basically is the agreement we have with Western that allows them to come in and get their clinical hours and their student teaching done with us. And I will tell you, as of right now, we didn't do a lot. We had limited visitors, limited experiences available last year because of COVID. And as of right now, hopefully everything is back on track for these people to come in. We love to see those people come in and get clinical hours with us because we're always looking for good teachers. And I feel like we missed that last year, so I'm hopefully looking forward to that. This is just a standard agreement we've had with them for several years.
Is there any discussion? If not, I need a motion to approve. Motion by Mr. Johar.
Second.
Second by Ms. Wells. All in favor of considering the MOU between WKU and the Muhlenberg County Board of Education, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? I hear none. Move down now to item C, to approve memorandum of agreement with Hopkins County Schools for teacher of visually impaired contract.
And this is one of Ms. Penley, so I'm going to do a little bit of reading on these next couple so I don't miss anything she wrote. Muhlenberg County Schools serves eligible students with visual impairments through the special education program. Based on these students' individual education plans, supports are required from a teacher with that certification in visual impairments. Muhlenberg County Schools has successfully partnered with Hopkins County Schools since the 2016-17 school year. This teacher provides services in our district 1 day per week, and they will assist the ARC committees in performing their essential evaluations, determining eligibility for services, and constructing meaningful individual education plans for their students. They will also deliver services as prescribed in each eligible child's plan.
Any questions? I need a motion to approve. I have a motion by Ms. Bard, a second by Mr. Johar. All in favor of approving the memorandum of agreement with Hopkins County Schools for the visually impaired teacher contract, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? I hear none. Move down now to item D, to approve a service agreement with Terrace Metrics.
And this is something I've kind of been involved in a little bit, so I have a little bit maybe more information than just presenting one of Julie's items for her. Basically, Terrace Metrics is a behavioral and mental wellness assessment tool that we can use with our students. And just as an aside, we all know what a toll COVID has taken on our students mentally, physically, mentally, emotionally. This is just an assessment tool we've never had an opportunity to use, and I sat in on several of the meetings when they presented this tool to us. Basically what it is, I'll just give you a few talking points. I think y'all probably got, some reading here that you've done on it. But just some things that I wrote down that I remember from the trainings or the introduction I had to it. This is a tool that can be measured over time. Typically, it's given a couple of times a year. It can be given more to our students. It allows for early detection of issues that students are having, and basically what it does is it immediately, as soon as that assessment tool is given to a student, it immediately sends reports to that student's parent and to the school so that they can get the services those kids need immediately. But then that tool can be measured over time to see if there's progression on anything, which is something I think is very valuable. A parent, just for your information, a parent can opt out of this. It's not something that's required for all students, so they could opt out because they have to grant permission for their student to participate. It's given in grades 3 through 12, and like I said, I think before, it's administered at least twice a year.
And this is one of those things you can use the ESSER funds on, and we talk about mental health, and this is, right up that alley.
So we're asking for approval to enter into this agreement.
Just a question on the mental health portion of that, and you may or may not know the answer to this, but you said it would automatically go to the kid's parents. I mean, if there was something, say that maybe the child was not, and I don't know if it would even test for anything like that, but there's a situation maybe in the home that's going on. I know Julia talked a little bit, I think, last month about some of the questions and things like that. So if it would be something that maybe the child didn't want anyone to know that they had answered at school, would it automatically, and I mean, would that be kind of
Honestly, I don't know the answer. I wish I could answer that for you. I would say the child, well, I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah.
They may not answer that question.
Yeah.
That may be something they just don't answer. But I don't know if there's something that would, I don't have an
you almost
answer.
hate to
I know.
trigger
yeah.
something and it'd be worse
the
for
trigger.
the kid.
That's why I'm thinking the
you know.
trigger points. But it's, I looked at some of the questions, when we went through it, and there's checks all the way through it. So it's one of those that kind of goes back and it's like reiterates what's, you know what I'm saying? If you've
Right,
ever done
right.
one of those assessments, it kind of goes back, asks the same question more than one way.
Right.
So, but I
Kinda like
don't
nursing board.
specifically know that answer.
All right. Okay, I was just wondering, when you said it automatically sent the report to the parent, I kind of had a thought that maybe it's something.
We had
that
some counselors sit in on that, Chairman Rager, and listen to the presentation and all to kind of get their take on it. And they seem very excited about it too. And I know a couple of other districts that's used it, and there's another module that we're not really getting into yet that I believe will help with staff who have issues, because obviously this has affected adults as well as kids. So we're thinking this may even lead to us getting better with our staff as well.
Thank you. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Ms. Wells. All in favor of approving the service agreement with Terrace Matrix, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I hear none. We'll move down now to item E, which was what was added, and that is to consider the MOA with the Alchemy Collaborative, and I don't know if I said that right, but
All right, thank you, Chairman Rager. Before I get to that, principals out here and our folks in the audience always try to keep me up to date on what I've missed. And I've already gotten text, don't forget to thank tech guys for all they've done, moving all the stuff this summer, and the maintenance guys. And then one from someone out there said, don't forget about GES's lack of marquee. So, fair enough. So I wanted to say that we do. It's hard to start naming folks that you appreciate because you miss some. And the tech guys, yeah, there's 4 of them doing a whole lot of work this summer. So, yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for the reminder. Okay, what we just talked about, this alchemy here, I had another superintendent came to me. He said, listen, I don't know what's going on with your communications and PR and all that. They have a person just to do that. And he said, we hired someone that helped with that. That was their only job. They'd done it for a long time. So they were tremendous help. Well, Carla's kind of created that role as she has been there over time. Plus, she's got several other hats as well. So I talked to her about this because you can use ESSER funds for this. This is a way to just get the word out, communicate maybe better, and help create different templates, different things that maybe, Carla could use for a long time. So we met with this lady for 2 or 3 times, and Carla's met with her outside of me, and she's in on this. She said, yeah, let's do this. So this is something I would like to do. I'm excited to be able to actually get some help for Carla, someone that's been doing this a long time, and that's all they do, to kind of help her create some things that we'll use for a while. So that's what this is. And again, we can use ESSER funds for this, which we like to do one-time things with ESSER funds as much as we can, just makes sense. So I would encourage you guys to approve us going into a contract, a memorandum of agreement with this Alchemy, I forget the last part of it, this group. Alchemy Collaborative.
is there any discussion on this?
So we are paying $17,100?
Yes. Yes.
And that's they will pay?
That's everything, and that would be for a year, and many tools to last long after, we hope, we think.
I have a motion by Mr. Johar. Second by Ms. Bard. All in favor of considering the MOA with the Alchemy Collaborative, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I hear none.
Carla clapping.
Is she clapping?
Somewhere.
All right. We'll move down now to our board consent agenda. Items A through F, approving minutes of prior board meeting, considering leave of absence requests, authorizing the district to file substitute teacher emergency certification forms for the, it says 1920, is that right? It says 1920 school year. I think that's all. Anyway, for the current school year we're coming up, review alternate program policies and procedures, consider fundraising requests, and consider field trip requests. And we had a motion by Mr. Johar,
Second.
second by Ms. Wells. All in favor of approving the board consent agenda items, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? I hear none, and I need a motion to adjourn. A motion by Mr. Johar.
Second.
Second by Ms. Bard. All in favor of adjourning, please say aye. Aye. We're adjourned. Thank you all.